Hello, and a very warm welcome to the Wonder Garden channel. It's a pleasure to have you with us. Today, we're going to delve into something I find endlessly fascinating, and that's the way our plants communicate with us. Long before a plant truly begins to struggle, its leaves will often send out subtle signals, little clues that tell us something isn't quite right with its diet. Nutrient imbalances, you see, often manifest first in the foliage, offering us a precious window of opportunity to intervene and help our green companions thrive. Learning to read these signs, to understand this quiet language of the leaves, is one of the most rewarding skills a gardener can cultivate. It's about more than just identifying a problem. It's about forging a deeper connection with the living things in our care. By paying close attention, we can learn to spot common deficiencies, a lack of nitrogen perhaps, or a need for more potassium, and understand precisely what our plants are trying to tell us. This isn't about complex chemistry, but rather patient observation and a willingness to listen. So, join me today as we explore these visual cues. We'll look at how different nutrient shortages show themselves, from changes in color to alterations in leaf shape and texture. Think of it as learning a new dialect, one that will allow you to respond more effectively to your plant's needs, ensuring they grow strong, healthy, and vibrant. It's a journey of discovery and one I'm delighted to share with you here at Wonder Garden. Now, let's begin with calcium, a mineral that's absolutely fundamental to a plant's structure, much like it is for our own bones. When a plant isn't getting enough calcium, you'll often see the first signs in the newest growth, the young leaves and the growing tips. These new leaves might appear rather distorted, perhaps curled or twisted, and they can look quite puckered. Sometimes the leaf margins, the very edges, might not develop properly, giving them a ragged appearance. It's because calcium is vital for cell wall formation and cell division, so a shortage directly impacts those actively growing areas. The plant simply can't build strong new cells without it. You might also notice that the growing points themselves, the very tips of the stems, can die back. This is a clear indication that the plant is struggling to expand. Blossom end rot on tomatoes or peppers is another classic symptom directly linked to a lack of available calcium for the developing fruit. It's not always that there isn't calcium in the soil, mind you. Sometimes inconsistent watering can hinder its uptake, or the soil pH might be too low, making the existing calcium unavailable to the plant. So observing these twisted, unhappy new leaves is your first clue to investigate further. Nitrogen is, without a doubt, one of the most important nutrients for vigorous leafy growth. It's a key component of chlorophyll, the green pigment that allows plants to photosynthesize and create their food. So, when nitrogen is in short supply, one of the first and most obvious signs is a general paling of the leaves. They lose that rich, vibrant green and start to look a bit washed out, often turning a pale yellow. Crucially, this yellowing, or chlorosis as it's known, typically begins with the older, lower leaves on the plant. This is because nitrogen is a mobile nutrient. The plant can move it from older tissues to support new growth. As the deficiency progresses, these older leaves may turn completely yellow and eventually drop off. The overall growth of the plant will also be noticeably stunted. You won't see that enthusiastic burst of new shoots and leaves that you'd expect from a well-nourished plant. Instead, growth will be slow, and the plant will have a rather spindly, weak appearance. It's a clear cry for help, indicating that the engine of its growth is running low on fuel. Providing a source of nitrogen, perhaps through well-rotted compost or a balanced organic feed, can often bring about a fairly swift and satisfying recovery. Phosphorus plays a rather different, though equally vital role in a plant's life. It's absolutely crucial for strong root development, which is the very foundation of a healthy plant. It's also heavily involved in the processes of flowering and fruiting, as well as seed formation. When phosphorus is deficient, you might notice a few distinctive signs. Sometimes the leaves, particularly the older ones, can take on a dull, bluish green or even a purplish tinge, especially on the undersides. This is quite a characteristic symptom. The overall growth will likely be stunted, similar to nitrogen deficiency, but the color change is a key differentiator. Another sign can be delayed maturity. Plants might be slow to flower, or if they do, the blooms might be sparse and the fruits small or poorly formed. Because phosphorus is so important for root growth, a deficiency can mean the plant is less able to explore the soil for other nutrients and water, leading to a general lack of vigor. You might see leaves yellowing from the base up, but the purplish hue is often the more telling sign. It's important to remember that phosphorus availability can be affected by soil temperature. It's less available in cold, wet soils, so sometimes warming the soil can help, alongside appropriate supplementation. Iron is a micronutrient, meaning plants need it in smaller quantities than nitrogen or phosphorus, but it's no less essential. Its primary role is in the synthesis of chlorophyll, and when iron is lacking, it leads to a very specific type of yellowing called interveinal chlorosis. What you'll see is the new, younger leaves turning yellow, but the veins of the leaves remain strikingly green. This creates a rather netted or patterned appearance, which is quite distinct. Unlike nitrogen deficiency, where older leaves are affected first, iron deficiency typically shows up on the newest growth because iron is an immobile nutrient within the plant. The plant cannot move iron from older leaves to supply the new shoots, so the young foliage suffers first. If the deficiency is severe, even the veins can eventually turn yellow, and the leaves might become almost white. This is often not due to a lack of iron in the soil itself, but rather an issue with its availability. High soil pH, for instance, common in chalky or alkaline soils, can lock up iron, making it inaccessible to plant roots, even if it's present. Waterlogged conditions or an overabundance of other minerals like manganese or zinc can also interfere with iron uptake. Potassium is a real workhorse in the plant world, responsible for a whole host of functions that contribute to overall plant health and resilience. It's vital for regulating water uptake and loss through the stomata, the tiny pores on the leaves. It also plays a key role in activating enzymes involved in photosynthesis and protein synthesis, and it helps plants to withstand stresses like drought, frost, and disease. When potassium is in short supply, you'll often see the symptoms appearing on the older, lower leaves first, as it's a mobile nutrient. The classic signs are yellowing that starts at the leaf margins or edges and progresses inwards. These yellowed edges can then turn brown and dry, looking rather scorched or burnt. The tips of the leaves might also curl upwards. You might notice that the plant seems generally less robust. Stems might be weaker, and the plant could be more susceptible to wilting or to fungal diseases. Fruiting and flowering can also be adversely affected, with reduced yields and poorer quality produce. It's as if the plant's internal systems are not operating at full efficiency, leaving it vulnerable and less able to perform at its best. Ensuring adequate potassium is key for sturdy, productive plants. Chapter 6: Magnesium's Green Heart, the core of chlorophyll. Magnesium is another essential nutrient, and its most famous role is being at the very center of the chlorophyll molecule. Without magnesium, there's no chlorophyll, and without chlorophyll, there's no photosynthesis, no way for the plant to make its own food. So, as you can imagine, a deficiency in magnesium has a direct impact on the greenness of the leaves. Typically, you'll see yellowing or chlorosis appearing between the veins of the older leaves first. This interveinal chlorosis can sometimes look a bit like iron deficiency, but the key difference is that magnesium deficiency usually starts on the lower, more mature leaves, as magnesium is mobile within the plant. The pattern often starts with light green or yellowish patches between the dark green veins, and these can eventually merge, causing the whole leaf to yellow, sometimes with reddish or purplish tints appearing along the edges in certain plants. In severe cases, these yellowed areas may turn brown and die, leading to premature leaf drop. Acidic sandy soils are often prone to magnesium deficiency, as it can be easily leached out. It's a common issue in tomatoes, grapes and roses, among others. Recognizing this specific pattern of yellowing between the veins on older leaves is your cue to consider if magnesium is the missing piece of the puzzle. Chapter 7. Copper's quiet contribution, vital in trace amounts. Copper is a micronutrient required by plants in very small trace amounts, yet its role is absolutely vital for healthy growth. It's involved in several enzyme processes, including those related to photosynthesis, respiration, and the metabolism of carbohydrates and proteins. It also plays a part in lignin formation, which contributes to cell wall strength. Because it's needed in such tiny quantities, deficiencies are not as common as, say, nitrogen or potassium. But when they do occur, the symptoms can be quite distinct, often appearing in the young, developing leaves and shoots. You might observe that young leaves fail to unfurl properly, appearing stunted, distorted, or twisted. They can also exhibit wilting, even when the soil has adequate moisture. The tips of young leaves might die back, and the overall growth of the plant can be severely retarded, with shortened internodes leading to a bushy or rosette-like appearance. In some grasses and cereals, the leaf tips may become pale and withered. It's a subtle deficiency perhaps, but one that can significantly impact the plant's ability to thrive. Care must be taken when correcting copper deficiency, as too much copper can be toxic to plants. Chapter 8. The Perils of Plenty, when nitrogen becomes too much. Now, while we often talk about deficiencies, it's equally important to recognize when a plant might be getting too much of a good thing, particularly nitrogen. An excess of nitrogen can lead to its own set of problems, creating an imbalance that isn't conducive to overall plant health. One of the most visible signs is incredibly lush dark green foliage. The leaves might be very large and soft, and while this might initially look like a picture of health, it often comes at a cost. This overly vigorous vegetative growth can occur at the expense of flowers and fruit. You might find your tomatoes producing a magnificent jungle of leaves but very few actual tomatoes, or your flowering shrubs putting all their energy into green growth rather than blooms. This soft, sappy growth is also more susceptible to attack from pests like aphids and to certain fungal diseases. Furthermore, an overabundance of nitrogen can lead to weak cell structure, making plants less resilient to environmental stresses like wind or drought. Growth might not just be lush, but also somewhat lanky and floppy. It's a reminder that balance is key in the garden. More is not always better when it comes to plant nutrition. So there we have it, a glimpse into the subtle ways our plants communicate their nutritional needs through their leaves. As we've seen, balanced nutrition is absolutely fundamental for supporting healthy, resilient plants that can truly flourish in our gardens. By learning to keep a watchful eye on your leaves, to notice those early changes in color, shape, or texture, you empower yourself to become a more responsive and effective gardener. It's about adjusting your plant care routine not just by a schedule, but by the direct feedback your plants are giving you. This careful observation, this dialogue with your plants, is one of the great joys of gardening. It transforms routine care into a more engaging and understanding partnership. Remember that healthy soil is the foundation of good plant nutrition, so always consider the broader picture. Small adjustments, made thoughtfully and in a timely manner, can make all the difference, leading to a garden that is not only beautiful but also robust and productive. Keep looking, keep learning, and your plants will reward your attention. Thank you so much for joining us today at Wonder Garden. I do hope you found this exploration into the language of leaves both interesting and useful for your own gardening endeavors. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like and consider subscribing to our channel and sharing it with fellow gardening enthusiasts. We'll have more tips and insights coming your way. Until next time, happy gardening. # gardening tips.